Hey, what's up, everyone?
Hey, Hunter.
Okay, let's see.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Yeah, sorry for missing the past few months. Was in vacations and after I had to recover from a vacation.
Ah, yes.
Hello from Dallas, Texas, you all.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm here because my boss wanted me here.
Excellent. That's the kind of.
His name is Ansar Saeed. He's a tough
oh,
fella. And I see Phil Ritter. Uncle Phil, please put the camera on so I can see your face after ages.
Oh, Fatih, you don't want to see my old face.
Why not? I love you, man.
It's been a long time.
It was. You look great. You look great. I missed you, man.
Mm.
By the way, Phil used to be my customer, then my kind of boss's boss in Verizon. And then he retired. I'm a redhead.
Okay, so I figure let's go ahead and get started. So I've been out on PTO for the last, and we have three.
We are missing Marie. Yeah, Marie and Praveen are not here.
Scott, is Marie in
I'll ping
the
her.
office today?
She definitely should be around. Let me ping her.
Okay. But so I'm taking a look at the meeting notes because I've been out on PTO for the last 2 weeks. I still had one thing that I wanted to bring up, but are any of the three items in the agenda, are those like immediate priority, and do we want to work on them right now? Generally, what I try and do is whoever added the agenda item, add your name and brackets. That way we know who to point to.
All right.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So Scott, are these the main thing that I was going to bring up today is try and work through the backlog of proposals, but that's not like immediately pressing. So do you want to go through these items first? And then...
Yeah. Well, I think that the proposals is important, and I think like an area we should probably focus. We could potentially punt for another round, but I think we should kick off somebody to work on like a plan for how we handle source evaluation on code and things, third party, when we vendor third party things, or when we, yeah, I think that's the largest use case, or how we're, linking libraries. When we link libraries statically, what sort of licensing are we drawing in, and that sort of thing. I could take a crack at starting this myself.
Sure. What's the, did you have a discussion in mind for today, or just publicizing and either you or someone else taking on writing up a plan for how it should work?
I was just dumping things that came up this last few weeks that I think we need to look at, and this was one of them. Was dependency, making it very easy to add a survey, figure out what's Magma drawing in, and what are we meeting our licensing requirements, and what's the process for someone who's adding something that has a licensing requirement. And right now we don't have any of that.
Gotcha.
So I think that's important and needs to be done. And I was mostly just raising it as a topic that we might coordinate as the TSC.
You mean a contributor license agreement?
Not the, well, I mean, that's probably in the, I suppose that probably falls in the veil of topics here. Yes. But like, we statically link with, or actually we're not statically linking, we're dynamically linking with libfolly, but we're gonna start statically linking with libfolly, presumably. I think libfolly is very permissive, but like any library that we're statically linking with, or that we vendored internally, what are the licensing requirements of those libraries that we've brought on board, and making sure, making it easy to audit them and know that we're meeting the requirements of those libraries. So like we're using bstring, I think it is bstring, right?
Mm-hmm.
In our MME, for instance, and that's some sort of third party that we've absorbed in there. What's the license on that, and etc. So I think a process is probably merited.
Cool. I think that makes sense. Is that something that you were interested in pushing forward, or are you looking for volunteers?
I mean, I have a lot going on, so to volunteer for this is sort of like saying I'm going to minimum viable effort it, but but I would be happy to put in a minimum viable effort. If there's anybody who's interested in working on this, or if you have any idea of someone who might be interested, then I'd say that that's as equally good candidate, and if they have more time than I do, then it's going to move forward faster. But I suspect we're not going to find that person. So let's put my name on it, and I'll report back next meeting on how that's going.
Cool. I have one or two ideas of some people that might be good as well, and we can maybe chat offline about that. But yeah, for now, I think putting your name on it works. Okay, cool. That works for that. I think maybe, yeah, let's go through the proposals backlog at this point, and we can just start by a loose priority order and just say, are any of these needing immediate attention? And then otherwise we can just try and work through
who's gonna help
through as many as possible. Yeah. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen then.
Yeah, and I added this first one before then there was commentary on it, and now there's some commentary that makes me think that maybe this one is obviated for now. But we can briefly discuss it if we want, but if we want to save time, this is the one I wrote, and I think that it's in need of, it's gonna be put in a larger system context of configuration. I think it may be out of date already.
What I was thinking was we just go through this list.
Yes.
But we can start with this. Unfortunately, I haven't read through these yet. Given that
some of these were flagged.
So.
Two of these were flagged by external contributors as needing attention, and that's why I put them here. So we should at least make sure we cover the second and third bullet point, and at least I think discuss how we move forward on them, or what needs,
Okay. Has anyone else read through these? Because otherwise I feel like we should send this as like, if it needs immediate attention, we can assign it as like a deliverable for middle of this week, read through it, and then we can vote asynchronously. Yeah, I haven't read through this, so
okay, then let's do that. Let's create action items for us to review.
Okay.
And I'll say that one thing that's come to my attention as looking at some of this is some of these topics are almost blending whether a feature is necessary with the implementation of the feature. I'm finding. So like, I don't feel like
Yeah.
I should be weighing in on 3GPP feature X, Y, Z and whether we implement it. That's a sort of a product thing. And it seems like a TAC issue to me, perhaps. And so once the TAC or someone says, yes, this feature is necessary, then I think that proposals, being reviewed by someone like us on architecture or something might make more sense, but I don't want to, I can't weigh in on.
I think this is one of the things that's a little, we're still trying to figure out how to do these things, given that this is like, was largely a Facebook only product, and now we're trying to move development and even planning into the open. And I think these are growing pains of like who should be making these decisions. And I think the direction of the project is intended to be the TAC, but often I've found that the TAC, there's a subset of the TAC that has the technical capacity to actually make those decisions, and it's more or less often the TAC discussions are not at this level of granularity. So then it kind of is like, well, maybe this is something that we need to decide, but it's not exactly within our charter because it feels directional on the one side. On the other side, the point that you're mentioning is like, are these proposals or are they feature requests? And that's kind of been some of the questions that I've had for some of the proposals, where it's like, it's really unclear whether this is just a feature request. And I think, but I think the answer to both of those is, previously when we had a smaller number of proposals and they were all from people that members of the TSC already knew, it was kind of straightforward how to respond to them. Now I think we're getting to the point where we have to utilize the sort of augmentation to the proposal process that I added, which is like, we don't always have the full capacity to say this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. So we have to farm it out to the relevant code owners, and they are the ones that decide, and then we vote as the single point of serialization. So, I'm assuming that the comment on the orchestrator scaling proposal is Oriel's proposal. I'm not sure, but that's like something that like I as that code owner would need to go in and read, and then I could be like, this seems like a good idea or this is a bad idea. And I don't think it's worth spending TSC time to do anything more than just be like, on these types of proposals, anything more than just being like, okay, the relevant code owner or code owners said this is a good idea and we can move forward, take a vote and go for it. So if anybody feels differently, now would be a good time to bring that up, as since this is kind of like the default that we're moving to. So yeah, let me know if there's any comments on that. Okay, cool. So what we can do then is for these three, I will skim them, figure out who the right code owner is, and ping that to them. And then we can take an async vote for the second two, given that it's a more time sensitive. And okay, so given that we're good with that, then
I have one other topic on the proposal front, I think, which is that I think some extra guidance too might be helpful in it. Some of the proposals are creating a lot of text for something that might effectively be like much easier to decide on with just a prototype PR or two. Like I'm seeing a couple of proposals where I was like, that could be 2 small PRs, and I mean, just like with some little text on why you're doing it, and then like that would be a very easy thing to review, instead of having like a document where I'm actually trying to look at code in a document, which is not really where it's, it's just, so I don't know. I think another thought on this was whether we need proposal shepherds that start like very at the front of these processes. Like when someone's going to start a proposal, we pair them up with somebody to help them right off the bat with what sort of document makes sense, and keeping it just to kind of help the process and not have extra work waste.
I think the idea is like the need is correctly identified. To me, the solution is not proposal shepherds. To me, the solution is like code owners need to be acting as tech leads within the community, not just within Facebook. And so if you have someone building an extension to subscriber DB and they're doing it for for 5G purposes, then whoever is the code owner of that relevant part, like there needs to be some tech lead that is part of the maintainership, because otherwise we have people who whether they're competent or not, they are building things often orthogonal to the existing processes, and that ends up with us reading these proposals and being like, I don't know if this was the right way to go about even proposing this thing. So I don't know if that's the right solution, but at least it feels more attractive to me of, we're not just asking random members of the community to try and blindly make progress, and then curtailing them when they don't do it based on our hidden processes. And I don't, and the final part of that is I don't think we can document our processes. I don't think we could ever document it sufficiently that we could just say, here's a docusaurus, have at it. I think we will have to follow at least some form of, here's this subsystem, this is the tech lead for this area. If you want to make progress, you have to interact with them at least some amount. And I think that would be the entry point for, should this be a quick PR? Should this be a proposal? Should this be a feature request? Is this even worth working on right now, et cetera?
I totally think that's a good thing to try, because I think I have gone the way of detailed documented process, and I'm seeing that's just not going to cut it. And I think that more touch labor is necessary. And I think your point is good. So
I think it has to be both, of course, like we need that detailed documentation, but at the end of the day, like
entry point should probably be TL, and then they can point you at once you've discussed stuff, they can be like, all right, that sounds good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, aside from people, me included, like what's the quickest path to implementing something? I don't want to read the documentation. But aside from that, the bigger issue is like, if we want to change things, we can't just change that block within our that block of text within our documentation and expect that the whole community is suddenly going to pivot based on that one change. I think it has to be like people oriented, even if the backing communication pattern is or if the norm communication is text based. I think the actual interactions have to be personalized.
So I think we don't really have do we have a public mapping of domain to the TL identifiers?
I don't think so. And I think that probably would be helpful, because right now we have code owners, but we have a lot of code owners and it's directory based. And so it's unclear.
It's not a great mapping. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that would be helpful, where it's like, okay, here are the tech leads for this project. Because I assume in traditional open source projects, the tech leads are just the TSC, but Magma is a big enough piece of software that's not really the case, and also was not the original intent of the TSC.
Right.
It's more of meant to be this bootstrapping process of like, okay, we should figure out how this should work, and like we can guide things, but that doesn't mean that we are necessarily the tech leads
Steering is
for
right there.
the whole project, especially.
Yeah.
The what?
Steering is the middle word.
Steering, yes. So yeah, I think that could be something very useful of like, look, do you want to improve the orchestrator? Talk to X. Do you want to improve the existing access gateway? Talk to Y. If you want to work on the new access gateway, talk to Z.
All right, who wants to work on that?
I can take that one.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Any follow-up comments on that?
I wish Aswin was here, because I know he's interested in this topic, and we should probably ping him I'll ping him offline, but yeah, I think that this is something he'd be interested in hearing and talking about. But
Cool. Okay, well, with that note, then I think maybe let's just go ahead and spend a couple minutes going through the existing set of proposals that we do feel like we could vote on pretty quickly,
okay.
and then we can identify the remaining set that we can either do async or do in 2 weeks. All right, let's see. Okay, Magma needs a security policy. I think, Phil, is that does that need any additional input?
No, I think we pushed it out. And
All right,
I think it's been launched.
perfect. All right, make Magma OAI Jenkins pre-commit CI check a
Yeah.
required check.
That's done.
Marie,
Yeah, that's done.
all right, perfect. Okay. Update governance README. Is Gail on the call?
Gail's out on an unplanned leave for a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, do we have an update on where this is at? Or otherwise we can skip it.
I don't, but I will look into that.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. I think, Scott, this one was implemented.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Let's see.
Was it? Yeah.
That was the Kern Snoop D.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's there. I think it's disabled but present. Flag protected.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. This one is under active development, so I'm assuming it was at least implicitly accepted. Did we or was this needs design doc? I think this was needs design doc.
Looks like the design proposal made it
I think
in, right?
Yeah, I think it already, oh yeah, it was merged. Okay, so we will mark this as accepted then. Okay, Marie, I think maybe this one is, was this one accepted formally or do we need to vote? This seems like a straightforward one to vote on.
Yeah,
but
it's just a vote. So basically the only difference is in order to add a new required check, we should make a proposal issue for it just to
Gotcha.
have a single place to add, all the reasonings and whatnot.
Perfect. Okay, I think that makes sense. Do we want to take a quick vote and then we can lock it in? All in favor of accepting this proposal to require making a proposal for a new required CI check, say aye.
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 All right, all opposed. Okay, cool. So that's accepted.
Marie, if you want to try to disseminate that visibility.
Yeah, I'll add it into the docusaurus and make a poster.
Yeah.
I
Something
believe
like that.
I think that's a great idea. I believe to make a check required, you have to be an admin.
Mhm.
So can you also CC the code owners channel?
Will do.
Cool, thanks. All right, accepted. I'm assuming this was accepted, or at least like enacted.
Yep, that's done.
Okay. This is the one that I'll take a look at. or I guess this one was closed. It's unclear. See, this is what I was mentioning earlier, where it's like both a proposal and a feature request. I don't know. Either way, I'll take a look at it and decide whether it needs TSC review or whether it's just something that can proceed without input. Okay, this was one that I had opened. Mark Jen is the new root TL at FB, and he was working on some fixes that needed him to be admin. And an additional reason is we have some non-TSC admins that are added particularly for the purpose of being able to backport PRs. And a couple of those have left the project recently, so adding Mark was a logical choice. But this is something we haven't voted on yet, so we can take a vote right now. So yeah, if you haven't met Mark yet, he's very confident. So I think this is an easy vote. So all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay, and that's all 5. Cool. Accepted. Okay, this one, Phil,
Wait.
have we come?
Sorry,
Is this
just want to
one-
execute that.
I will handle that. Yeah.
Great.
On Mark, I think he was already made admin.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, okay. So for the release naming, Phil, do we still need more discussion on this? This is something that I'd be willing to have more input on as well.
Yeah, there's no consensus. It's not ready to move forward. We need more dialogue.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. Is that something where it's stalled, or are we still making progress?
You know, it's kind of stalled, and I haven't re-energized on it. It was active right before I left on my holiday, and when I came back,
Okay.
I've been doing other things. So I'll get after it.
Sounds good. It seems like from the comments, it seems like there's a subset of the team that has opinions on this, so it might be worth just like getting that group together.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably.
and having like a more, I don't know, a synchronous discussion to burn through it.
by the way,
Um,
nice detailed proposals, Paul or Phil.
mhm.
You're welcome.
Okay. I haven't taken a look at this one. Does anyone have context? Otherwise I can, again, this kind of looks a bit more like a feature request, but I'll take a look and decide whether it needs more shepherding. Let's go through 1 or 2 more. Let's see. This is Echo's proposal for better branch management. We can just take 30 seconds to read it, a silent read. Okay, so yeah, basically right now there's no formalization around who can create branches on the main repo, and that's causes a lot of cruft where there's a bunch of branches created for no particular purpose. So I think this seems straightforward. I would like there to be, I think this is sort of a toward towards this proposal. So I think maybe we can vote on it with the idea that Echo will be able to handle it himself, and then make explicit comments as a follow-up as to what the explicit changes were.
Yeah, I did not notice that there were so many branches now. And there's a lot of, for me, that are development branches. Yeah, I think he's right. I mean, we should.
Yeah. Cool. So we can take a vote on this, unless if anyone, we actually, if anyone has input, we can talk about it first. So yeah, any comments?
I agree.
I-
I agree.
I agree with the downside. I do have some experience that says that branches can be useful / critical for certain development tasks. So like, for instance, recently I was testing post submit based build of our Docker files and pushing into the registry. And there's no way to test that today without creating a branch on master. I would have to just submit and see if it works. And with the number of tries it takes to get some of these CI tools working, that could be quite a number of submits.
What I've found is that for CI stuff, that is a big asterisk to this rule. And so whenever you're testing CI stuff, it makes sense to make a branch or do it on your own fork, but sometimes that still doesn't work. So I do view that as an exception. I don't, so maybe we can say, and we can, instead of accepting today, we can just ask for a bit more detail with that as a particular point of interest, because it would be a pain if every time someone wanted to test or fix a CI issue, they had to go through red tape to request to create a branch.
I think he has a release valve here that, other program-wide needs as determined. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, I think there's a release valve that could possibly be used, but
I guess what I'm wanting is like explicit description of how that'll work.
Yeah.
Before we accept. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
also we have some parts of the documentation refer to like, I think the like reverting a PR, I have a document on that somewhere, and that refers to the, like the GitHub UI way, and I'm pretty sure that creates a branch. That has its own issues too, because it's hard to, I think Quentin and I were discussing how like none of the, like for example, like the DCO check, that can't be done with the revert button. So like, I think there are some cases that we just need to identify, and maybe we just need to say like, don't use the UI and just revert it locally and submit
and for concrete steps, because it's missing some concrete steps too. Like I have occasionally accidentally made branches because instead of pushing to origin, I push upstream and as a muscle memory thing. I'd be like, oops, and then I go delete it, right? But like maybe we should be removing branch generation rights for most of us by default, and then you get an error message. You'd be like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, a lot of the time. So maybe that's a first step. Is just, at least it would require that only a few individuals can create branches, and then that'll naturally filter what gets created.
Cool. Okay, cool. Well, we're out of time. I'll ask for more detail for this. We can bring it up next time, and then I'll go through a couple of the other items that we had as well. Yeah, awesome. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week or 2 weeks from now.
Okay, bye-bye.